8 most expensive mistakes ever made in history. The Apollo 13 space mission. 2 of the oxygen tanks of the Apollo 13 burst due to an engineering error. The oxygen quickly started to run low, and after 3 hours, it was completely gone. Luckily, no astronauts lost their life. The expedition did not even accomplish all of its objectives, and it was abruptly compelled to return to Earth earlier than planned. The U.S. government is thought to have lost an incredible $283 billion as a result of this significant error. Dubai Aquarium leak. Who would have guessed that one tiny, leaking panel joint might wreak more havoc than anyone could have imagined? The engineers and construction workers in charge, who built Dubai's largest aquarium, dubbed as the Indoor Ocean, most likely didn't consider this. Fortunately, the leak was found quickly enough to save all of the aquarium's creatures. But it took a whopping $20 billion to plug the hole without upsetting any of the enormous sharks and other extremely rare animals that were within. A building that was too reflective. Even though some buildings are strange enough to literally damage your eyesight, we bet you never imagined that one might melt an automobile. After receiving complaints that it had melted a man's Jaguar that was parked across the street, the odd-looking building at 20 French Church Street had to pay a little more for sun protection. A portion of the car's body and rear-view mirror had rippled due to the intense heat produced by the building's reflection. In the end, developers paid the man the £946, and they even had to put up a makeshift sunscreen to prevent nearby regions from being overly damaged by the sun until a long-term fix could be found. An extremely expensive Coma. The notorious Oxford Coma, one of the most hotly contested punctuation marks in literary circles, has its partisans and non-partisans. It is typically regarded as optional and used to distinguish between a list's penultimate and last entries. That being said, Oakhurst Dairy's shipping department finds it to be an especially painful topic. The attorneys defending the drivers contended that an Oxford Coma was required in a clause in the employee-signed contract to make it clear that extra pay was forfeited under certain circumstances. In the end, the business agreed to settle the complaint by giving the drivers a whopping $5 million. That sure was a costly Coma. But typing mistake that cost millions. Because a stockbroker mistyped the date in December 2005, the Japanese company Mizuho Securities Company lost a significant sum of money due to the smallest error. He intended to list one share of the JCOM stock on the New York Stock Exchange for about 610,000 yen. However, he ultimately made an astounding 610,000 share offer for just 1 yen. This quickly took advantage of this and snapped up a significant portion of the mispriced stock. Stock exchange regulations that only permitted equities to be sold for the lowest price of 572,000 yen partially offset the loss. Nevertheless, that error cost the business almost $225 million. The Spanish submarine mistake. As government constructed the submarine Isaac Peral in 2013, a submarine designed for ease of access to the ocean floor was produced by engineers. Unfortunately, there was a calculation error that prevented the submarine from surfacing. In an attempt to make this problem worse, the submarine engineers increased its size. Still, it required even more costly modifications because it could no longer fit in the seaport where it was intended to be. All in all, this submarine ended up costing the Spanish government almost $2.2 billion. The SNCF train mistake. 2,000 new trains were produced in 2014 by the French railway operator SNCF. All around Europe, there were small stations, old tunnels, and platforms, but it turned out that the trains were too broad to fit into them. Only $20.5 billion was spent on new trains by SNCF to correct this significant error. Deepwater Horizon. The globe stared in disbelief at images of the 2010 BP Deepwater Horizon massive accident. The entire ocean was coated in oil for hundreds of kilometers. It was a catastrophe for the economy and ecology, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Because of the U.S. Clean Water Act, the involved business, Transocean, was forced to pay roughly $1.4 billion.